My name is Sabrina and I'm 35 years old. 5 years ago, my husband died unexpectedly. It was the worst day of my life, and sometimes I still wake up reaching for him, only to find his side of the bed empty. The house I live in now was his, left to me in his will. It's a nice place, maybe too big for just one person, but I could never bring myself to sell it. Too many memories. My brother Mark is 3 years younger than me, 32. We've always been close, though we handle life differently. While I'm more cautious and plan ahead, Mark tends to jump into situations without thinking them through. Still, he's a good guy with a big heart. A few months ago, Mark married Denise. She already had a 7-year-old boy named Tyler from her previous marriage. I only met her a handful of times before the wedding, but she seemed nice enough, a bit quiet, but polite. Tyler was a well-behaved kid who mostly kept to himself. Mark and Denise were renting a small 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't much, but it was all they could afford on Mark's salary as a warehouse supervisor and Denise's part-time job at a clothing store. Last Tuesday, my phone rang while I was making dinner. "Hey, Sabrina," Mark's voice sounded strained. "Got a minute to talk?" "Sure, what's up?" I stirred the pasta sauce I was making, already feeling that something was wrong. "I've got a problem, actually, a few problems." He took a deep breath. "I got demoted at work, budget cuts, less pay, different shift." "Oh, Mark, I'm sorry." "That's not all. Denise is pregnant, 2 months along now." "Pregnant, I wasn't sure if I should congratulate him or commiserate, given his tone." "And the landlord just gave us notice. They're renovating the building and not renewing any leases. We have to be out in 10 days, and with my pay cut and the baby coming, I can't afford the security deposit on a new place right now." I knew what was coming before he even asked. "Sabrina, I hate to ask this, but do you think we could stay with you for a little while? Just until I get back on my feet. Your house has those extra bedrooms. We won't be in your way, I promise, just a few months at most." I hesitated. My house did have 3 unused bedrooms. And he was my brother, my only family, really, since our parents moved to Arizona and we rarely spoke. "How's Denise doing with the pregnancy?" I asked. "Morning sickness, tired, the usual stuff. She's worried about moving while pregnant, especially with nowhere to go." I thought about it for another moment. "Okay, Mark, you guys can stay here while you get things sorted out." "Really? Oh man, you're a lifesaver, Sabrina. I swear we won't be a burden. Denise is great at keeping house, and she's a really good cook too. You'll hardly know we're there." "It's fine," I said, already wondering if I was making a mistake. "When do you want to move in?" "Is tomorrow too soon? The landlord's giving us a break on this month's rent if we're out quickly." And that's how it started. The very next day, Mark, Denise, and Tyler moved into my house with 6 suitcases, some boxes, and promises that they wouldn't be staying long. The first few weeks weren't bad at all. Denise was actually really helpful around the house. She cooked dinner most nights, and the food was good. She kept the common areas clean and was pleasant to talk to. Tyler was polite and quiet, usually playing video games or reading in his room. I even started to enjoy having them around. The house had been lonely after my husband died, and having people filling the rooms with noise and life was nice. Some evenings we'd all watch movies together, and I'd help Tyler with his homework sometimes when Denise was resting. Mark seemed stressed but grateful. He'd kiss my cheek each morning before heading to work and thank me again for letting them stay. "Just a few more months," he'd say. "I'm putting in applications for better jobs every day." One afternoon, I was helping Denise fold laundry in the living room when she said, "You know, I was nervous about moving in here, but you've made it really easy. Mark always said you were the best sister anyone could ask for." I smiled, feeling good about my decision to help them. It's nice having company. Actually, the house feels more alive. "Well, it'll get even more lively once this little one arrives," she laughed, patting her still flat stomach. For those first few weeks, I thought it was all going to work out just fine. I was helping my brother through a rough patch, getting to know my new sister-in-law, and preparing to be an aunt to both Tyler and the baby on the way. I had no idea how quickly and dramatically things were about to change. After about a month, I started to notice changes in Denise's behavior. It was subtle at first, a skipped dinner here, a messy bathroom there. She began sleeping later and spending more time in her room watching TV. When I'd come home from work, the dishes from breakfast would still be in the sink, and Tyler's toys would be scattered across the living room floor. "She's just tired from the pregnancy," Mark explained when I mentioned it casually. "First trimester is the worst, she'll bounce back." I tried to be understanding. I'd never been pregnant, so who was I to judge? I picked up the slack, cleaning up after dinner and helping Tyler with his homework more often. Then came the Saturday that changed everything. It was the 5-year anniversary of my husband's death, and I'd invited a few close friends over for dinner to remember him. It was something we did every year, nothing wild, just a quiet dinner with people who had loved him, sharing stories and keeping his memory alive. I'd mentioned it to Mark and Denise a week in advance. "Just a heads up, I'm having some friends over on Saturday. We'll try to keep it down, but we'll be using the dining room and living room." Denise had nodded, not even looking up from her phone. Whatever. That evening, my friends arrived around 6. We were sitting around the dining table, plates pushed aside, looking through old photo albums when Denise burst into the room. Her hair was messy, and she was wearing a stained t-shirt and pajama pants. "What the hell is going on in here?" she snapped, her voice so sharp that everyone fell silent. "We're just having dinner, Denise," I said carefully. "Remember? I mentioned it last week. You're all being way too loud. I can hear you cackling through the walls, and I'm trying to rest. This stress isn't good for the baby." My friend Carol spoke up. "We're sorry, Denise, we didn't realize." "And who are you?" Denise cut her off. "Never mind, I don't care. All of you need to leave, now." The room went dead silent. My friends looked at me, uncomfortable and confused. I felt my face flush with embarrassment and anger. "No one is leaving, Denise. These are my close friends, and we're honoring my husband's memory today. We're not being loud, we're just talking and looking at photos." "It's your husband's death day?" "Well, he's been dead for years, get over it already." She glared at me, then at my stunned friends. "This is ridiculous, I need peace and quiet." With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. My friends tried to pretend it hadn't happened, but the evening was ruined. They left early, hugging me at the door and giving concerned looks. That night, I confronted Mark when he got home from his late shift. "Your wife just humiliated me in front of my friends," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She told them to leave my house and said awful things about my husband." Mark rubbed his eyes. "I'm sorry about that. She's been having a hard time with mood swings. The pregnancy hormones are really hitting her hard. Pregnancy doesn't give her the right to be cruel, Mark." I know, I'll talk to her, I promise." "Just try to cut her some slack? Please, for me?" I agreed, mostly because I didn't want to fight with my brother. But whatever talk he had with Denise did nothing to improve her behavior. In fact, things got worse. She started complaining about everything: the smell of my coffee in the morning, the sound of my TV at night, the perfume I'd worn for years. "That smell makes me want to throw up," she'd say if I put on even a little. "Are you trying to poison my baby?" One evening, I was making spaghetti for dinner when Denise walked into the kitchen and immediately covered her nose. "God, that garlic is making me sick. You know I can't stand strong smells right now." "I'm just making dinner, Denise." "Well, make something else, or better yet, don't cook at all. Your food always stinks up the whole house." That was it. I turned off the stove and grabbed my purse. "Fine, cook your own dinner if mine is so offensive." After that, I stopped cooking at home entirely. I started eating lunch at work and picking up dinner on the way home. It was more expensive, but it seemed easier than dealing with Denise's constant complaints. Tyler's behavior changed too. The once polite little boy now answered me with eye rolls and attitude. "Tyler, could you please pick up your backpack from the hallway?" I asked one afternoon. "Why should I? You're not my mom," he shot back. My mom says I don't have to do what you say. I didn't know how to respond to that. What had Denise been telling him? My friends stopped coming over. The last time Melanie visited, Denise stormed through the living room 3 times, slamming doors and muttering loud enough for us to hear about inconsiderate people and noise pollution. "Turn that TV down," she shouted from the hallway. Melanie looked confused, "But the TV isn't even on." "Just ignore her," I whispered. As Denise's belly grew larger, her demands grew too. She rearranged my kitchen cabinets without asking, complained about the water pressure in the shower, and criticized my choice of laundry detergent. One evening, I found Mark alone in the kitchen and decided to ask the question that had been on my mind for weeks. "Mark, I know things are tough, but have you started looking for your own place yet?" He avoided my eyes. "I've been saving, but rents are crazy right now. And with the baby coming, we need something bigger than we had before." "Just a little more time, Sabrina, I promise." I nodded, trying to hide my disappointment. A little more time had already stretched from weeks into months. I was starting to wonder if they ever planned to leave. The next day, while Mark was at work, Denise dropped a bomb on me over breakfast. "So," she said, spreading jam on her toast, "when are you planning to move out?" I nearly choked on my coffee. "Excuse me?" "This house," she said casually, "Mark says we'll need the extra bedroom for the baby. Your room would be perfect for a nursery." And that's when I realized we had a much bigger problem than I thought. I stared at Denise, trying to process what she'd just said. "I'm not moving out of my own house." She laughed like I'd said something ridiculous. "This isn't your house, it's Mark's house. He inherited it from your grandparents. He's letting you stay here temporarily because you were going through a hard time after your husband died. But it's been 5 years, time to move on." I was speechless. I needed to talk to Mark, immediately. That evening, when Mark got home from work, I cornered him in the kitchen while Denise was in the shower. "We need to talk about what you've told your wife about this house," I said, keeping my voice low. "She thinks you own this house. She told me I need to move out to make room for the baby." "What the hell, Mark?" He ran his hand through his hair. "I can explain. When I met Denise, I might have exaggerated a few things. I told her my grandparents left me this house, and that I was letting you stay here until you got back on your feet." "Why would you lie about that?" He looked down at his feet. "She was dating this lawyer who owned his own condo. I wanted to impress her, to show I had something going for me too." "So you claimed my house as yours? The house my husband and I bought together? That he left to me when he died?" "I'm sorry, Sabrina, I meant to tell her the truth eventually, but then we got married, and it got harder to admit I'd lied." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You need to tell her the truth, Mark, today. I can't just drop this on her now. She's pregnant, stressed." "If you don't tell her, I will," I said firmly. Okay, I'll talk to her. Just give me a little time to find the right moment." But days passed, and Mark kept finding excuses to delay the conversation. Meanwhile, Denise grew bolder in her demands. At breakfast a week later, she made her move. "So, I've been thinking about the nursery. I need you to clear out your room in the next 2 weeks. The baby will be here before we know it, and we need to start setting things up." I looked at Mark, who was suddenly very interested in his cereal. "Mark," I said pointedly, "is there something you want to tell your wife?" He squirmed in his seat but remained silent. "Fine," I said, "the show's over, Denise. This house has never belonged to Mark. It was my husband's, and he left it to me when he died. Mark has no claim to it whatsoever." Denise's face went from shocked to angry in seconds. She turned to Mark. "What is she talking about?" Mark looked miserable. "I was going to tell you." "Tell me what?" Denise's voice rose. "Sabrina's right, this is her house, I never owned it." "You lied to me?" Denise stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. "You've been lying this whole time? You told me your grandparents left you this place." "I know, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to worry you." "Worry me? You're a jerk, Mark, a complete loser." She stormed out of the kitchen and slammed the bedroom door so hard the dishes rattled. I thought that would be the end of it. Surely after discovering the truth, Denise would be too embarrassed to stay. They'd pack up and leave, and I could have my peaceful life back. I was wrong. The next morning, Mark and Denise came to the kitchen together, looking oddly united. They sat across from me at the table, and Mark cleared his throat. "Sabrina, we've been talking, and we have a proposal. We think you should sell this house. With the money, you could buy 2 smaller places, one for us and one for you." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Excuse me?" "It makes sense," Mark continued. "This place is too big for just one person anyway. You could get a nice condo, and we could get a small house with a yard for the kids." I couldn't help it. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. "You've completely lost your minds. I'm not selling my house." "But I'm your brother," Mark pleaded. "Family helps family." "I have helped you," I shot back. "I let you move into my home when you had nowhere to go. I paid for all the utilities and groceries for 6 months while you've contributed nothing. I put up with your wife's horrible behavior." I turned to Denise. "And now you want me to sell my house so you can have your own place? Are you kidding me?" Denise's face twisted with anger. "You've been nothing but difficult since we moved in. Always complaining, always making me feel unwelcome in my own home." "It's not your home," I shouted, finally losing my temper. "That's the whole point." Denise burst into tears and pulled out her phone. "Mom, you need to come over right now," she sobbed into it. "They're being horrible to me. I need your help." That was the last straw. "No," I said firmly, "no one else is coming to my house. In fact, I want all of you out, today." "I'm pregnant," Denise wailed. "You can't throw a pregnant woman out on the street. You have a mother you can clearly call for help. Go stay with her." "You heartless thing," Denise screamed, "after everything we've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me?" I asked, suddenly feeling very calm in the face of her hysteria. "Besides insult my friends, criticize my cooking, complain about my perfume, teach your son to disrespect me, and try to take over my house?" Mark finally stepped in. "Sabrina, please, we just need a little more time. You've had 6 months, Mark. I'm done. Pack your things and be out by tonight." It was the ugliest scene imaginable, Denise screaming and crying, Mark begging for more time, Tyler running around adding to the chaos, but I stood firm. By nightfall, they had loaded their belongings into Mark's car and a pickup truck borrowed from a friend. As they drove away, I felt an overwhelming mix of relief and sadness. How had things gone so wrong between my brother and me? That night, I called my former mother-in-law, Catherine. We'd stayed close after my husband died, and she'd always given me good advice. "Change the locks," she said immediately after hearing my story. "And get security cameras installed. I don't trust that woman not to try something stupid." I took her advice, calling a locksmith the very next day and having cameras installed the day after. It seemed excessive at the time, but I would soon be very glad I did it. 2 weeks after kicking Mark and his family out, I had to go on a 3-day business trip. I was nervous about leaving the house empty, but with the new locks and security cameras, I felt somewhat secure. I could check the camera feed from my phone, which gave me some peace of mind. The first day of my trip went smoothly. The second day, during a meeting, my phone started buzzing with security alerts. I excused myself and checked the footage. There they were, Mark and Denise on my front porch, luggage piled around them. Mark was trying my old key in the lock while Denise stood watch, her pregnancy now clearly visible. When the key didn't work, Mark tried jimmying the door. That's when the alarm triggered, sending them both running back to their car, leaving the suitcases behind. They returned minutes later to grab their belongings before speeding off. I was stunned. They had actually tried to break into my house. If I hadn't changed the locks, I would have returned home to find them moved back in, probably with some excuse about an emergency. That night in my hotel room, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my parents. My relationship with them had always been strained. They never approved of my husband, thought I married too young, and generally found ways to criticize my life choices. We'd drifted further apart after my husband died, and now we only exchanged brief birthday and holiday calls. Sabrina, is everything okay? My mother answered, sounding surprised to hear from me. Not really, Mom, and then it all came pouring out, the whole story of Mark, Denise, their stay at my house, and finally, the attempted break-in. I just don't know what to do anymore. He's my brother, but I don't even recognize him now. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then my mother sighed deeply. Oh, Sabrina, Mark called us last week, asking if he and his family could stay with us for a while. What did you tell him? We said no, my mother replied firmly, we've met Denise before. They stayed with us for 6 weeks last year before they were married. That woman nearly drove us insane with her complaints and demands. Your father couldn't even watch his football games because she said the noise gave her migraines. For the first time in years, I felt a connection with my mother. She understood what I'd been going through, so what do I do now, Mom? Keep your distance, that woman is toxic, and unfortunately, Mark can't see it. Maybe someday he will, but until then, you need to protect yourself. We talked for almost an hour that night, longer than we had in years. By the time we hung up, I felt like something had healed between us. Sometimes it takes a shared problem to bridge old distances. Life settled into a new normal after that. I focused on my work, spent time with friends, and even visited my parents twice, something I hadn't done in ages. Mark and I didn't speak, though I heard through family that Denise had given birth to a boy. I sent a congratulatory text but received no response. 6 months passed without a word from Mark. Then, on a rainy Tuesday evening, there was a knock at my door. I checked the security camera and was shocked to see Mark standing there alone, looking thinner and more haggard than I remembered. I opened the door cautiously. Mark? Hey, Sabrina, his voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in a while. Can I come in? Just to talk, I promise. I let him in, and we sat at the kitchen table where so many dramatic scenes had played out before. I'm getting divorced, he said without preamble. I caught Denise with someone else, her ex, Tyler's dad. Turns out they'd been seeing each other the whole time. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. He let out a bitter laugh. Don't be, it gets better. I did a DNA test on the baby, he's not mine. I didn't know what to say, so I just reached out and squeezed his hand. There's going to be a trial soon. She's demanding alimony and half of my savings. Can you believe that, after what she did? He shook his head. Sabrina, I know I have no right to ask this, but I need a place to stay. Just until the divorce is final. I've been sleeping on a friend's couch, but I can't keep imposing. I should have said no. After everything that had happened, it would have been perfectly reasonable to refuse. But looking at my brother, broken, humbled, and alone, I couldn't turn him away. You can stay in the guest room, I said finally, but there are ground rules this time. The divorce trial was a spectacle. Denise showed up with puffy eyes and a dramatic story about being emotionally abused by Mark and me. She played the victim beautifully, weeping about how we had made her feel unwelcome and stressed during her pregnancy. I was there to support Mark, and to my surprise, my mother came too. Even my former mother-in-law, Catherine, showed up to testify about the day Mark and Denise had tried to break into my house. When Denise's lawyer claimed she had been mistreated while living with us, Catherine stood up and said, if she was so mistreated, why did she live rent-free in Sabrina's house for 6 months? And why did she try to break in after being asked to leave? The judge was not impressed with Denise's performance. The evidence of her affair, the DNA test proving the baby wasn't Mark's, and the security footage of the attempted break-in all worked against her. The divorce was granted, and Denise's demands for alimony were denied. Mark has been living with me for almost a year now. He's slowly putting his life back together, working hard and saving for his own place. We've fallen into an easy rhythm of coexistence. He respects my space, contributes to the household expenses, and is generally the brother I've always known and loved. Last night, over dinner, he mentioned that he'd met someone new. She's nice, Sabrina, really nice, not like Denise at all. I think you'd like her. I smiled. I'm sure I would. I was wondering if maybe I could invite her over sometime? Just for dinner or a movie night? I nodded, but then added, that sounds great, but Mark, I want to be clear about something. What's that? If things get serious between you two, I'm happy for you. But she won't be moving in here. I've learned my lesson about that. He laughed, a genuine laugh that I hadn't heard in a long time. Don't worry, I've learned my lesson too. The next time I live with someone, it'll be in my own place, with my name on the deed. We clinked our glasses together in agreement. It felt good to have my brother back, to know that we'd weathered the storm of Denise and come out stronger on the other side. And while I don't know what the future holds for either of us, I do know one thing for certain: this house is my sanctuary, and I'll never again let anyone make me feel unwelcome in it.